I swear this Chainsword 40K has become one of my favorite Twitter accounts over the last couple of weeks. He posts some funny stuff. This is Mike Brooks, and we did a expose about him the other day and how he was seething about Sargon of Akkad and actually putting him as a villain into his Black Library books. Crazy stuff. Now, he's not the only one. There's a bunch of woke authors, and Chainsword's doing great work here exposing just how bad they are. Yesterday, we did a talk about James Swallow, who I know because I'm a big fan also of the Star Trek novelizations, and he's does a lot of work there too. And James Swallow, and we made enough jokes about his name yesterday. We're not going to do that again. We're classy on this YouTube channel. I promise. Right? Just don't swallow when you're doing gay stuff in Warhammer. Oh, God. Okay, I'll fix it in edit. Okay, I promise. But now we've got another author who's doing crazy stuff in the books. He's been a woke activist, and, in the past, I tried to separate woke activism from putting it in the books, but the problem is it always ends up bleeding through. If you get involved and you're interested in some books by a guy, and you're like, look, he's bad on Twitter, but, his books aren't that bad. Eventually, the guy throws it in there. They can't help themselves. These people are just so sick and so just enamored with their own politics that it just steps on everything in their lives, including their mohawks. Oh my gosh. We're going to get into the news of what's going on in this Warhammer author. This is a Warhammer fantasy one this time. In just a moment. My name's John Delarose. If you've been new to the channel, I am a #1 best-selling author as well, an award-winning comic creator, and I have my Stars and Twine series, which is a trilogy space opera. It's a classic one. It's more in the vein of like Babylon 5 than it is in the Warhammer universe, but it's got a lot of the similar space opera themes, and it's got a big war that's developing. And I'm going to be spinning a series out of this. I'm writing it right now. I'm having so much fun with this. I've really not had this much fun writing in years. So thank you guys for supporting. You've come in so hard on this book and trilogy. It's on ebook, audio, and grab the whole trilogy because it just ramps up. I'm very good at just like setting a stage and then boom, it just goes full tilt in books 2 and 3. That's kind of my style. And I hope you enjoy it. That link's in the description below for you guys, and there's no woke stuff in it. So there you go. So this is Lord of the Lance, and this is by a fellow named Graham McNeil. And Graham McNeil is a woke activist who has infiltrated Games Workshop and Warhammer. And I think that's all they hire at this point is these woke activists. It's really sad. Games Workshop, if you're watching this and you do want something different that the fans will actually like, shoot me an email. I've got some time. But this is the story when the son of Baron Lothar Aquilina of the Border Princes is taken captive. He calls in a debt of honor owed by him by Duke Cared of Quenelus. Once his brother in arms is now his bitter rival. Uneasy alliance of warrior knights mounts in a dangerous expedition into the lifeless desolation beyond the Badlands, into a forgotten realm, cursed to know neither water nor shade. The Baron's son is held captive in the land of the dead, and the kings and queens of old do not rest easy in their tombs. So this sounds innocuous enough. It just sounds like a standard fantasy tale where you're going out into the wastelands. You encounter the evil spirits and the dead things out there. We got this in almost every fantasy series, right? Even the Wheel of Time with Robert Jordan. He went out, Randall Thor went out into the desert, and he went out into the north where everything was dying, and there were, and then it happens. It sounds good. Doesn't sound like a problem, but it is, because this guy can't help himself again. So let's see what he did in this level. This novel should be called Lords of Virtue Signaling. Oh, no. Graham McNeil shits on every established Bretonnian lore. For example, there are female knights everywhere in this novel. I dare say there are more female knights than male ones, along with female men-at-arms and bowmen. This is such a thing that is like, it's permeating everything. And every time I look at any kind of movie or anything at this point, I'm just like, another 115-pound girl who's going to beat up all the military guys. How exciting. I'm kind of looking at maybe seeing Planet of the Apes this weekend, but like it also appears to have that element to it. So it's like, ugh, do I want to? I don't know. It's interesting. It's like men forgot how to write women, and they just write men with tits, right? And then they throw them in there so they can be, quote, diverse, and it just doesn't make any sense. And that's exactly what's going on in something like this. The lore, Bretonnian knights were only men, well, a lot like the Adeptus Custodes, huh? Along with men-at-arms, peasant bowmen, and etc. Women are posing as men or were special cases, like Repenace of Lioness, which was basically Warhammer Joan of Arc. Pegasus Knights are an entirely female unit, now exclusive to women. It's interesting how there's no male units that are exclusive to men anymore, but the female units still get exclusive female units. Ridiculous. Deaf Knights, one of whom is repeatedly affirmed by other characters as being fully capable of being a knight. Yeah, that's hard. There is even exposition when the deaf character lectures the others that he's not broken, and if given the opportunity to get his hearing back, he would refuse to do it. Really interesting. This is a big thing with like the handy capable lately, and we saw this in D&D when they put out that adventure with like the wheelchair adventurer going into the dungeon. It's like, I really hope the evil sorcerer has everything ADA compliant for you. That'd be the real crime here. But it's insane, and it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's ridiculous. Mention of an LGBTQ knight whose love story would have been told far and wide had he lived. Totally a normal phenomenon in medieval society. The novel is filled with modern politics, however, despite its unusual progressiveness in the Bretonnian society, it's still classist. No tolerance if you were a peasant. That's always interesting that some lack of modern society is always existent in these things, but we have to like make it modern in all the weird sexually deviant ways. That seems to be the way of the woke all the time. Knights are also using bows. Not really woke, but shows McNeil shits on every part of Bretonnian lore. Yeah, he just, a lot of people, like, they just don't go in. And I don't understand this, because, like, if you get hired to do these things, I was at a panel at SDCC last year, and back to Star Trek again. Like, they were talking about the Star Trek comics, and they were on the panel there, and they were bragging that until they had their assignment for this Star Trek comic book they were doing, they had never actually watched an episode of Star Trek. And it's like, why would you hire that person? Like, or at the very least, hire somebody who's like going to be like, okay, I'm going to extremely research this. I'm going to read the whole Black Library before I get going, just so I don't make any mistakes. I'm going to take copious notes, take very good care of the lore. I mean, that should be like the number one job requirement for a writer, right? You'd think. It's ridiculous, but this is how it is these days. So here's a list of some of the characters in here, and all the lady knights. Oh my gosh, absolutely crazy. His father drank too much and beat him until his mother put nightshade in the man's porridge. This is an excerpt from the novel. Belger hoped to ride with the knights errant next spring. He would have been a fine knight and earned his spurs in less than a year. His knight's oath sworn on midsummer's morn, he would meet a boy with a smile that lit up the world, their love so great that their poets would weep as they penned exquisite odes. Oh, gross. Gross. It's just gross. I don't know. But this is who they hire at this point. It doesn't really read like the description, does it? It sounds like this going off into desolate wastelands and having epic battles with undead and the like. But no, it's just about gay poetry. And this is what they do every single time. So, I mean, at this point, you really just can't even trust that anything new out of the Black Library is going to be worthwhile. I don't know what's a good stopping point. What do you think's a good stopping point for Warhammer Fantasy or the Warhammer 40K universe? I even liked some of the Warcry stuff I read a couple years ago. I read that short story collection and enjoyed it. But at what point did it tilt? If you've been a longtime fan here, let me know. Leave a comment down below on that. Love to hear from you. Hit that like and subscribe button, my friends, and make sure to keep yourself safe from the woke virtue signaling in the Black Library these days. Very sad. Hit the like and subscribe button. Check out my Stars and Twine series. We'll be back soon.